This is the OSU Roundup, and what a magical Sunday it was in Gallagher-Iba Arena with Cowboy Wrestling taking down Iowa. That was awesome.
It was incredible. Second largest crowd ever to see the Cowboys play and wrestle inside Gallagher-Iba Arena. You got the number 2, the number 3 teams in the country. It is by far the biggest match of the season. And for the Cowboys to start the way they did, to excite and electrify the crowd the way they did, it was a special day inside Gallagher-Iba.
Well, and of course, a lot going on. The Cowboy baseball team is off to a good start. Same is true for the Cowgirl softball team, and we're in the home stretch basketball-wise. The men's and women's basketball trying to put on a little streak here at the end. Yeah,
we're going to get a chance to hear from Coach Holliday. We're going to hear from Coach Kenny Gajewski. And for the Cowgirls, they got a good win this past weekend, trying now to get through Senior Day, get to Oklahoma City. That's where the Big 12 tournament is for the women's side. And so they really are on the home stretch, at least of the regular season.
Stay with us. All this and more coming up on the OSU Roundup.
The OSU Roundup is brought to you by Bud Light, game day's favorite light lager. By the visitstillwaterok.org, Shop, Dine, and Stay partners. Be sure to shop, dine, and stay in America's friendliest college town. By Mercy Health, your life is our life's work. And by OG&E, power at the speed of life.
We continue on the OSU Roundup and joined now for the first time by Cowboy baseball coach Josh Holliday. And, you know, as I think about your team and having watched it some early, it has a different presence about it, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that you're a lot healthier this year than you were a year ago. Is that the case?
Well, I think for sure, Dave. I think when you look at the early season body of work that our kids have put together so far, there's been some really good things to be excited about. There's been some things to identify as immediate needs to work on, but the thing you speak on most is the health of the team, and I think it starts with our pitching staff. You have a healthy Jensen Elliott, which we haven't had the luxury of having in 2 years. He's a special kid. He's a guy that is not afraid to take the ball in the first game of a series and give you a great opportunity to win. You plug him in there, and all of a sudden that starting rotation starts to build. Add back to that Mitchell Stone, who was out last season with a broken ankle. He's looked good in the early going for us so far. So 2/3 of a starting rotation right away. Parker Scott on the mend, back to us here real soon as well. So you start adding back some high-end arms to go along with kids that we brought in that we like very much, and kids that back in health, kids like our junior class of pitchers, guys like you look at, Brady Basso, Peyton Battenfield, C.J. Varela, some really nice jumps those kids are making already to go with some of the newcomers. So more pitching depth. I think it's a stable of pitchers that Coach Walton can manage at a very high level, and one that so far has pitched awfully well.
You know, it's interesting. An example of that depth is, let's say, Joe Linhard, who last year was in the weekend rotation for most of the year. He's a senior, has a lot of experience. Now you can use him in a bullpen role. Comparing, and it's hard to compare early in the year, but could this pitching staff be as deep as any you've had, or don't really know for sure yet?
Well, I think it has a chance to be very good pitching staff, and you speak on Joe Linhart. Joe's pitched on Friday nights, he's pitched on Saturdays, he's pitched on Sundays, he's pitched out of the bullpen. To have a guy with that kind of game experience that can come in and pitch his way out of a jam or pitch late in the game early in the season is a huge luxury, because there's nothing that Joe's going to see on the field that he hasn't already stared in the face once before. So I think our experience level and our depth really gives us a chance to manage our pitching staff through the 4 and 5 game weeks. I think we'll pitch at a high rate, and I think what we'll do over the course of time behind that is relax as a ball club, because we do have great confidence in our pitching and should allow us to play better on the offensive side.
So speaking of that, where do you feel like you are offensively? A lot of guys back in the outfield, reworking some things in the infield. Of course, Colin Simpson had a monster year last year. He's back as a catcher in DH and potential outfielder. So where do you think you are offensively, and what are you trying to enhance that way early?
Well, I think what we're seeing is we have potential to put together some quality at bats up and down the lineup. Where we just simply have to relax is making sure we don't try to do too much. We've set the table several times in the early stages of the season. Getting clutch 2-out RBI base hits and hitting in situations is something that typically the first 20 games you have to work your way into it. We've had some opportunities early where guys simply wanted to do a little bit more than maybe the pitch allowed, trying to pull the ball and hit it over the fence rather than maybe just shooting a line drive into the off gap. So I think the potential's there, 1 through 9, to have a really solid lineup, a lineup with a little bit of speed and some power. But what we're looking for is just to continue to relax into the game situation, to become a better situational team, of hitting with runners in scoring position, and ultimately stepping on home plate. You know, the whole goal of your offense is to score runs, and however you create runs, whether it's a walk, a sacrifice bunt, a 2-out RBI hit, that's a good formula if it's what works. If it's getting a good pitch to drive and hitting one over the fence, that's a good formula if it works inside of your talent. So just trying to get each player to understand himself and play the offensive game inside of their skill set.
And try to play your final year in LAP and make it one memorable. Is there a lot of memories there?
Well, it's kind of hard to believe that's the reality, that this is the last season in that ballpark. But it's something that we celebrate, and something that every time we take the field, it's always been a privilege. We've never seen it as anything but a privilege to play baseball in that field and to wear our uniform in honor of the great tradition that's been built by all of the people that made OSU baseball special, and to pass it on to us and allow us as the 2019 team to go out and continue that legacy is something that we're very much in the moment with. And all the excitement about the future of the program doesn't get in the way of how important it is to play well right now, and that's what we're focusing on.
And come check out the Cowboys. Lots of home games coming up in March. In fact, this weekend, Iowa from the Big Ten will be at LAP Reynolds Stadium, so hopefully we'll see you at the ballpark. Back with more to come. We continue after this on the OSU Roundup.
Welcome back once again to the OSU Roundup, joined now by the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls softball team, Coach Kenny Gajewski. And, Coach, good to have you with us here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You guys off to a great start, 4-1, and I'll say great, and I know we'll get your take on it in a minute. You went 3-2 the next weekend, included wins over the teams like Kentucky, Arizona State. You're now 3-2 this last weekend. You played some really good teams. Through the first grind, and it is a grind those 3 weekends that you're on the road and play 15 games. Give me your feel about this team.
Well, it's kind of a up and down thought. I think if you'd asked us before the season had started, would we take 10-5? I think the answer is probably yeah, with the schedule and the travel. But looking back now through the 15 games, just too many missed opportunities that we'd like to have back that you can't have back. And that's what you want to protect your team against. That's what you talk to your team against is you don't get them back. And so we have some losses that kind of hurt us inside us. You know, they kind of hurt and they still hurt, and still, not feeling great about them. But that's why you coach. That's what that's why you do what we do. That's part of coaching young kids, and that's part of the journey. It's part of the season-long journey that you can't wait to jump on and can't wait to see where it takes you. So we'll get there.
You have talked a ton about culture and where you're trying to go, raising the bar, and it has been raised. And because it's been raised, expectations go up. But you had a very direct conversation with your kids and saying, okay, where are we going this year? And they made it very clear, we want to get to Oklahoma City. And you said, okay, that's fine. Then I'm going to coach you like you're going to Oklahoma City. Be ready for that. It will be raising the bar. And that's what I love about this at 10-5, something you might have accepted early on. Now as you're sitting there going, no, we could have been easily 12-3. We could have been 13-2. That's where this program's headed right now.
Yeah, I think I read something that we're off to our best start in my time here. And it doesn't feel like that inside. That's the hard part. So we're better. We've got a lot of cleaning up to do. We haven't practiced on our field but one time in the last 3 weeks because of weather and travel and all that stuff. So it's going to be nice to be back here at 60 today, and we're going to take advantage of weather and the opportunity to jump outside and practice, and we need that. I can't believe we're talking about practice, but we are, right? And I'm excited to go get better today. I think that's the biggest thing.
Coach, you guys got some new kids coming in here that have certainly made an impact already. Shao has been, you've just told me over and over how impressive this young lady is. 5 home runs on the season. She is tied for second in the Big 12. Maddie Sue starting to find her range on the offensive side. A youngster by the name of Naomi that has done a fantastic job. You've got some kids that are really starting to show what your expectations were going into the year.
Yeah, we've got some kids that are playing well. We've got some kids that have played well sporadically. But we have yet to play a complete game, which is probably good. I mean, I think you're gonna, you're only gonna play at a level that's super high for a certain period, and I'm glad we haven't done that yet. I want to save that for the very end. But we do have some kids that are playing well. Xiao has been awesome. Kylie's been good at times. Maddie Sue's been good at times. We just haven't had enough consistency yet out of all of those kids. It's coming. And when it comes, we'll look out because it'll be good.
Right now too, Coach, I've noticed, you're still trying to get settled in at catcher. You're pitching a lot of kids right now in the circle. I mean, so you're allowing these kids to continue to make moves, and your decision in lineups truly is decided by kids in practice and how they're performing. Yeah. You would let them make their own decision there.
We tell them all the time, we don't make the lineup, we just write it. They have an opportunity to start every day in practice, even in days where they're not playing in games, where they're preparing, and how they prepare and how in tune they are for their opportunities. And I watch that. I watch kids. It's all about makeup. It's all about what you're willing to do. It's all about taking advantage of opportunity. And it's not about results. And a lot of times we get caught up in that. And just trying to convince these kids to compete in everything that you do, on and off our field. And if you can do that, you'll play a lot for this program.
Home opener coming up this weekend. Seattle coming in here, Syracuse, some other teams. Vanessa Shippey coming back. And I know you're excited to see her, excited to bring her back and see her grow now as a coach.
Yeah, it's a cool kid, just to see her and what she's done. And I'm excited for her and excited to have her back. She means a lot to us in this program, this town. And to see her back doing what she's doing and coaching, and just to get a chance to have her back to talk to her and to pick her brain some, and what she sees from the outside will be neat.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing her back inside the friendly confines of the Cowgirl softball complex in a different uniform, but it'll be a lot of fun. Season ticket sales are off the charts. Support is off the charts, and the Cowgirls are off to a fantastic start. Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Casey, thank you.
Hey, we need to take a break. The guy that also has kind of raised the bar, he may be the bar. Mr. John Smith will join us coming up next. We'll talk about that huge win over Iowa this weekend. We'll do that coming up next as we continue with the OSU Roundup.
Ready to grapple on this Sunday afternoon. Huge crowd, Oklahoma State and Iowa.
Wrestling fans, you are right in the middle of one of the greatest traditions in all of college sports. This is Gallagher Iba Arena.
125 pounds, Nick Piccinini in our duel is underway. There's Nick, takes a shot in, gets in on the left leg. And he's got a cradle hooked up. Takes him to the back, to his back. 6 seconds to go. There's the fall. Piccinini with the fall.
Holy cow. And this place just exploded. Boy, that's Daryl Monismith level.
1:40 riding time. Nate Fix wins it 2-0.
And get the crowd going, and we're just getting warmed up, folks.
And a double leg takedown with Dave Rock. And he's got him on his back. And getting a count out of it. Chandler. There's the fall. And he does a little dance in celebration. Now he does a little set out. Works it into a reversal. Winston Weigel.
Boy, what an atmosphere, what a day. The Cowboys beat the Hawkeyes, and congratulations to those seniors. Those last 4 weights, those 4 seniors brought it home.
Welcome back, and joined now by the undefeated coach for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. His team is 15-0 this season. Fantastic finish against Iowa. And Coach, congratulations. What the buildup was awesome. The fans made it that much more special, and your team went out and delivered.
Yeah, they did. I think the key was, in the second period, we seemed to stretch the scores out, and of course, Nick Piccinini was coming out and going down and having a tough time getting out, but putting a lot of pressure on his opponent when he did get out. It just seemed like everything came together for him. Hit a nice shot, came off into a cradle, and took the national champion to his back and pinned him. So anytime you can start that way, in a big match, I've always said, gives you the level of motivation or momentum that you need to win those kind of matches.
And it's awesome, too, because I know some of your peers, Coach Littell, Coach Gajewski, guys, people that got a chance to be there and watch, said that was the loudest, since they've been here, the loudest they've ever heard Gallagher Arena.
Well, that's neat
Yeah.
for me to hear that, So our team did well. When it got real critical in the tough matches, we got tough, we got real tough. Even with some calls that kind of went against us, like at 97, there was one legitimate point the Iowa kid scored, and two were kind of given to him, and we still find a way to dig out and beat the number 4 guy in the country. So, you're going to look good and you're going to look tough when you're winning those close bouts.
Spencer had never lost by pin at 125, and to suffer his first pin to set the tone, again, just amazing. And you and I talked about, you said their 1-2 punch is as good as anybody's in the country's except our 1-2 punch. At the 133, the DeSanto kid is obviously a big personality. He's got a lot of moxie, a lot of brashness to him. To get those two and set the tone was just phenomenal.
Well, that was big, I mean, in those big dual meets, and your wrestling dual meets that that can be can go either way, whether we're wrestling at home or whether we're wrestling away. It really doesn't matter. You got to win those key matches, and those were two key matches. Those guys realized that if we can win these two from the start, it can make a difference in the outcome. And the way the dual meet went, we won those first 3, and then we all of a sudden lost the next 3, and it was tied. We gave up a pin and 2 decisions, and Chandler Rogers stepping out, making a difference. But going back to those first 2, Fix was tough as well. In a tough bout, Cole, I thought was an easy 2 takedown. They didn't give it to him. He comes back, just didn't let it rattle him. He got on top of him, rode him out, and ended up kind of just cranking on him at the end to win the match.
I'm curious, you talked about how tough your kids are and said just there that they didn't get rattled. When you wrestle in front of 4,000, 5,000, it's the same in any sport, and that's the norm. All of a sudden, it's doubled, tripled. It's so much louder, even for you. Sometimes that can be a little unnerving for your own team a little bit, and your kids didn't let that. They embraced it.
Yeah, they embraced it. You got to be able to wrestle or play, whatever you do. I mean, in any type of environment. Some of the hardest environments to wrestle in is ones that you go into a gym and there's 500 people, Sometimes it's hard to play, hard to bring yourself, and just the opposite where we had, 13 plus, you got to be able to do it both ways, and because you're going to get both ways during the season. I think for us, you have those seniors that we have stayed pretty consistent no matter where we're at or what we're doing, and that really helps the younger guys.
Cowboys won the first 3. They fell in the next 3. We'll take a break and come back and look at the final 4 matches for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Also, senior night and what is next. We'll do that with Coach John Smith as we continue right after this.
Hello, wrestling fans. Remember the Big 12 Wrestling Championship, March the 9th and 10th at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State Wrestling is chasing its 16th Big 12 championship and 7th consecutive championship. Come and join us. Remember to buy tickets at thebokcenter.com. Come and join us, Cowboy fans, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Welcome back. Continuing our conversation with Coach John Smith. Coach, you and I talked last week a couple of times, and one of the things you said in these kinds of big matches, it's not just about the wins. We need some, the bonus points are going to be big. And obviously in this one it was, and you mentioned it at 174, Chandler Rogers came out after the thing got really tight, opened it right back up.
Yeah, the score was tied. Both teams had 2 pin. There was actually 3 pins in the meet. 3 of the 7 or 10 weights there was pins. You don't see that very often, you know. But sometimes in that high environment and the hype, things happen.
Yeah.
You just want them to happen for you, you know. And they did. After we lost the 3 straight, after we won 25, 33, and 41, we lost the next 3. And we didn't lose them because we wasn't competitive. We were competitive in all 3 of those matches, except John Blaylock I had to bump up because of illness on the team. But I'm glad his senior year he got to participate in it. White Sheets lost a tough bout, but ended up on top the last 30 seconds trying to turn the guy. Ended up getting reversal. Those are things that these guys will remember if you hit them again. You know, this kid didn't quit. This kid actually took me down or reversed me and scored the last points of the match. Chandler Rogers did come out. We bumped him up to 74. Remember, he weighed in at a little bit over 65, so he was small for the weight. Did a great job. You know, it ended up being a kind of a battle match, a close match, 7-3, and then he hit his patent move to pin people. You know, he's been a big pinner for us his whole career, and definitely set the tone for the seniors that were coming up. And of course, as you know, from Chandler on, those last 4 matches were seniors. All 4 of them did their job.
Well, at 197, a slight upset, but a nice win for Preston, and then Derek White at the big fellas got the win, and a good win for him there. When you look at it, Coach, just a great outing. Momentum going into Big 12s, and also obviously into Nationals coming up here before we know it.
Well, Big 12s, you know, and really, you know, it's a little bit early for me to speak about Big 12s, you know. In wrestling, you know, there's just a level of focus that you have in 1 week. I mean, a lot of things can change and disappear if you just let your guard down, you know, if you hang on to something like this too long, you know. It's just real important that we come back today and focus on our performance, you know, not so much the outcome of the rest of the season, but our performance, because practice, you got to perform. And we got a chance to get better. We really do. I mean, we have some areas where we were exposed a little bit in some areas with Iowa that we can take to the room. But more importantly, you know, I just want to get my team to focus on practice performance right now, because Big 12's 2 weeks. So what are you doing in that 2-week time? You focus on Big 12? No. You just leave that where it's at and focus on your performance in practice.
Finally, Coach, this was such a special day. The crowd, obviously undefeated, your 7th undefeated season, 46 for the program. You all the things that go into that. But for 8 seniors, their final one at Gallagher makes it pretty special.
Well, it is, and you know, I told our guys yesterday after the meet, you know, I'm just so happy that you guys got to be a part of something that, you know, you'll remember, you know, and it was a great event. And it's not so much that there was a sellout crowd, but that's a big part of it, right?
Sure.
It's also the performance that you had, and when it got tough, how tough your teammates got, you know. And some of you wasn't out there, but some of you were direct responsibility for Preston Weigel sucking it up at the end and finding ways to win. Some of you are responsible to help Nick find that pin because you push him every day. So, you know, everyone plays a role, and you know, we had 4 seniors and 4 guys that didn't wrestle yesterday. 4 of them that didn't start or didn't wrestle this year, and those guys are special because, you know, they're playing a role that helping someone else.
Largest crowd this winter in the state of Oklahoma for any sport. It was a fantastic weekend for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Coach, enjoy it. We'll catch up with you here in a couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Hey, we need to step aside. When we come back, we're going to be talking basketball. The Oklahoma State Cowgirl women's basketball team coming off a big win against Kansas, a sweep of the Jayhawks. Jim Littell joins us coming up next.
Cassidy, a career-high 10 points for you, 5 rebounds as well. 3 players on this Oklahoma State team in double figures, though. What worked so well for you tonight offensively?
I think I just had a mentality to be aggressive and go at the boards. I really haven't been doing that as a freshman, but I thought I would just take it in my own hands to grow as a player so that I could continue this growth and not plateau. and I'm proud of everybody else. Braxton's getting in those like double figures again, so it's been a really good game for us.
You mentioned it, but how do you step up consistently as that third scorer that Coach Littell is looking for behind Vivian Gray and Braxton Miller?
It's been hard, just trying to get looks because they are our main scorers, and of course they're like very influential. So when they like get us going, that makes us like go as well. So just like him being motivational, telling me that I can do it and be aggressive, is letting me do it.
Welcome back to the OSU Roundup. Casey Kendrick now joined by the head man for the Oklahoma State Cowgirl women's basketball team, Coach Jim Littell. And Coach, you guys got a sweep of Kansas this week. It always feels good to be back on the winning track.
It does. It was good to be back in Gallagher, Iba, and our kids were excited to play, and it was a big ball game for us. It was a game that we needed to get back on track, and we did a lot of things right. Some other players stepped up, and it was a fun game for us.
Well, and Coach, you guys have talked about it. You know, the NCAA tournament is maybe out of your reach unless you win the Big 12 championship. But this team still has plenty to play for. Freshmen, sophomores trying to grow up, seniors trying to finish the right way, trying to move up in the standings, trying to get eligible for postseason. And it seems to me your kids have stayed in the moment and are continuing to fight in that regard.
You know, that's exactly what we talked about leading up to the game and in the pregame speech. Stay in the moment, realize that there's a lot to play for. You as an individual can get better as a young player. Our team can get better and continue to grow. We could move up in the seedings for the Big 12 tournament. So there was a lot to play for, and I thought our team responded.
And obviously the pride factor always weighs in on that as well. Let's go back to the start of the week, Coach. A tough one against West Virginia. This West Virginia team, now they struggled a little later in the week, but this West Virginia team is extremely talented.
They are talented. You know, I've said all along with Tyneese Martin and Naomi Davenport that they've got two pros, and both those young ladies played extremely well. They've had some injuries that's forced them to play younger players, and those younger players are very athletic, and I think they've probably grown as a team and gotten better because of those injuries.
I know Vivian Gray missed some shots early that she typically makes and really had some good looks early. But that kid's a battler. Man, she just fought through, still ended up with 23 points, and just willed her point total to 23.
She keeps working. That's the way she is every day in practice. Great practice player, great work ethic, and the ball didn't fall for her like she would have liked it to do, but just continued to play hard and continued to make shots.
Latasha Jones in her senior campaign, you asked her to be a rebounder this year, and she is 8th in the conference right now in rebounding. But Coach, her three-point shooting, she was 9 of 13 after this ball game. I mean, this young lady has all of a sudden found her range from outside.
No, she's understanding what her shot is now, where to take it within our offense, and got a little more arch on her shot as of late, and started to knock down shots, and that's a big plus for us.
Moving back to the Kansas game, a 72-52 win. Cassidy DeLapp, Coach, had a career high, first time in double digits as a Cowgirl. She had 8 rebounds in the game as well. Early with an offensive rebound, moving without the basketball, and Bryn Gurley gets her the ball at one point. Nice shot from the free throw line. Really a very solid game. Really what you've been looking for her all season long.
We've talked with Cassie in practice about being more aggressive, putting yourself out there a little bit more. Go ahead and shoot that shot from the elbow, get it there, rip it, and go to the rim. And you saw a little bit of everything that we've asked her to do, and she continues to get better, and as she grows in confidence, she's going to be a really nice player here.
And, you know, Coach, this Kansas team is best in the league in three-point defense. They have a three-point shooting percentage defense. They've done a good job there. Yet you shot 60% against them the first time, 47% against them this time. You guys have really been able to have success outside, unlike many teams against Kansas.
You know, it's kind of unique that you say that. They have been really good from the 3 line, but I thought we did a good job of getting in the middle of the lane and making 2 people play 1, finding the open person, making the extra pass, and then we had players step up and knock down shots. Maria came in late, hit a couple threes, and that was a big plus for us.
Yeah, Klee got 1. Jaden Hobbs had 5 points and did a good job in the assist total. So just a complete win. And as I said before, it just seems like the weight of the world gets lifted off of you when you finally get that W.
It's always nice to get a win. It's a lot easier going home. It's a lot easier preparing for the next game, and we're excited to move forward.
Well, and moving forward, we'll be on the road to take on the #1 team in the country in Waco, Texas, coming back home for Kansas State and getting ready for senior night. Coach, hard to believe it's already that close to being done in the regular season.
It is. The season's gone by quickly, and it still remains a lot to play for, and we're fired up to do it.
Absolutely excited about that. Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Hey, that's going to wrap up this segment. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dave Hunziker will sit down with Coach Mike Boynton. We'll get his thoughts on the season in this past week as we continue with the OSU Roundup.
We're back on the OSU Roundup, and certainly one of the Cowboys' most improved players this year has been the point guard Isaac Likely. Here's your chance to get to know the Oklahoma State freshman.
I had moments like that this year where I was just in full-out attack mode, and I've had moments where I was just completely unaggressive and just didn't look to do anything really, which Coach Boynton, he gets on to me all the time. You know, he tells me all the time to just stay aggressive, stay aggressive. And, you know, ever since then, I really feel like I've been in a different type of attack mode. You know, I've been really learning how to score and distribute the ball at the same time. At first, I was trying to really figure out the balance in between both. Right. But now I feel like I'm really the game's starting to slow down for me. And, you know, it's towards the end of the year, you know, so really that freshman excuse, you know, I've played a lot of games. I've started, I think, every game, I'm not sure. I think I've started every game. So, you know, I can't really use that as an excuse no more because it's towards the end of the year. So I'm basically in my sophomore season, if you really think about it. Yeah. So, you know, I'm starting to learn the game more. And that's all I can do is just keep learning the game. And the more I learn it, the easier it gets.
Thinking back to the state championship that you won in high school and how much you've grown this freshman season, like you mentioned, how you already feel like you're practically a sophomore just because of the experience that you've had on the floor. Tell me about from that point and the growth that you've had this season as on the court.
The growth has definitely been a challenge. You know, I get challenged in practice every day. There have been some days where I just completely don't feel like practicing, but you know, Coach Boyden and the rest of the staff, they push you through practice. You know, you got to have a great practice. And that's what I feel like is the key, because, you know, even though this season hasn't been the type of season that we wanted, you know, a lot of coaches in the country, like, you know, sometimes whenever they're having a bad season, they can really just give up on their players. But, you know, even though we've been losing a lot of games, it seems like the staff here has actually turned it up even more, you know, really just trying to get the best out of us every day, because we're not just playing for this season. You know, we're trying to set a culture going on into the future, because me, you know, I definitely love this school and I plan on being here sometime. So, you know, we planning to establish something here for the future. You know, that's all it's about. It's all about a culture.
How would you describe that culture that you mentioned?
The culture is family. It's definitely a family type of culture. Family atmosphere, hard workers, good character guys, and most importantly, kind of just, you know, blue collar type mentality. You know, a bunch of blue collar workers, and you know, we have on our staff a bunch of blue collar workers. Those guys themselves, and I wish y'all could just see how hard they work for us. Y'all can't see it since y'all in front, but we behind the scenes. Those guys, they work so hard for us. And that's why I just keep bringing them up, because I can't just do nothing but just show my appreciation to them.
This season, not only how much you've learned on the court, but you use the term life lessons.
Off the court and on the court, they go hand in hand. They really correlate. So, you know, whenever it comes to learning how to get through tough situations in life, that's why I feel like I've learned a lot my freshman year, and really just keeping a positive mindset. I really became more optimistic this year's thing. And, you know, in every bad situation, I try to find something good. And I feel like that's what I've learned the most this year.
Is that something that you kind of taught yourself naturally is a way to cope with adversity is to keep that positive mindset?
It was by far my parents.
Yeah.
It was my mom and my dad. They are the hardest working people I know. And, you know, even through everything that was negative, whether we was younger or getting older, they always showed us the positive side of it, you know. They never showed us when they were down. They always smiled, you know. And my mom and my dad, they just really just find a way to just work their way through any situation. You know, I feel like I picked up that trait from them. And me coming out here my freshman year, I feel like I really had to put that trait to use on my own, you know, because back home, you can really lean on your parents, but whenever you're here, you know, it's kind of just you. And so I picked that trait up from them, and just seeing them make their way through different situations, I feel like it got passed on to me.
We've heard from Isaac Likely in this show, and you know, his development, where do you feel like he's progressed the most?
Well, just understanding what it takes to have success. It's a really hard thing to quantify for a young person. They come in with these grander ideas of how impactful they're going to be from day one. And they get to practice and they can't even figure out how to get through a whole practice. So just his conditioning, he's changed his body. He's more able to play longer minutes. But a lot of it just has to do with the adjustment from high school to college. And so you're starting to see him play the game at a different pace sometimes. He still has his moments where he gets a little bit sped up, but that's okay. That's part of the process for him. But the biggest aspect is just understanding how to compete at this level.
So his physicality, he's big and he's thick and he's long. How does that serve him now, and how can that serve him even better over the long term?
Well, it serves him now because he's able to use that size and that strength to get the ball where he needs to go. Even sometimes when he doesn't really know where he's supposed to go with it.
Gotcha.
He gets to where he thinks he needs to go with it. And some guys can't get the ball where they want to have it. So his size and strength gives him that ability. And the future of that size and strength will give him the ability, once he knows where to go all the time, to never really be stopped. And to be even better as a defensive stopper for us than he's already become as a freshman.
Stay with us. We preview the Kansas game when we return on the OSU Roundup.
Hello, wrestling fans. Remember the Big 12 Wrestling Championship, March the 9th and 10th at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State Wrestling is chasing its 16th Big 12 Championship and 7th consecutive championship. Come and join us. Remember to buy tickets at thebokcenter.com. Come and join us, Cowboy fans, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Back to wrap things up on the OSU Roundup, and let's wrap up with a preview of the Kansas game. Last year, it was in a regular season finale, but almost the same date. Boy, you played great against Kansas, won the game going away, and you were competitive in the game in Lawrence this year. So they'll come to Gallagher-Iba Arena, and it's always special when they come.
Absolutely. It's always a great time when these schools play basketball against each other, and has been for decades.
Yeah.
Last year's game, you immediately come to mind. It was senior day for our guys, and Mitchell Solomon's performance in his final regular season home game, because he wound up playing a couple more, was something to remember forever. But different year, different team for both sides. And we had a really competitive game with them up at their place. They kind of got away from us late with a flurry of threes, which they hadn't been shooting well. So hopefully we can hold off from having to make so many threes and continue to have success on the offensive end and give ourselves a chance to come out with a win against them again.
So what else besides guarding the three-point shot better? What do you need to do better this time around?
Well, we've got to rebound the ball better collectively. I think Cam had a pretty good rebounding game. No one else really did, so we have to have a collective, better rebounding game. And then, other than taking away their shots, we've got to make sure that we're really aggressive on the offensive end ourselves. We got more aggressive as the game went on, but it's got to be from start to finish.
For Coach Boynton and our entire crew, I'm Dave Hunziker. Thanks for watching. See you next week on the OSU Roundup.
The OSU Roundup is brought to you by Bud Light, game day's favorite light lager. By the VisitStillwaterOK.org Shop, Dine, and Stay partners. Be sure to shop, dine, and stay in America's friendliest college town. By Mercy Health, your life is our life's work. And by OG&E. Power at the speed of life.